Welcome back. Last month, we showed you some alarming statistics that said the number of Americans who died from drugs, alcohol, and suicide hit their highest levels since record-keeping began. This chart tells the story, and it shows how the trend is going in the wrong direction. 150,000 deaths from those causes in 2017, and nearly one-third of them were from suicide. Now, a brand new study shows suicide rates for girls are on the rise, especially for kids who are between ages 10 and 14. My next guest lost a daughter who took her own life after she was the victim of horrific bullying. Mallory Grossman was only 12, and she loved gymnastics, cheerleading, and all things outdoors. Her mother, Dianne Grossman, is the founder of Mallory's Army. Dianne, I would assume that sadly, news of the rise in teen suicides does not come as a surprise to you. Tell us, if you would, the story of how you lost your daughter, Mallory.
I guess I'm more shocked. Mallory was a sixth grade student at Rockaway Township Schools. She had what you would think would be typical childhood behavior. She was excluded. She was humiliated at school. And like any other parent, I had regular conversations with guidance, vice principal. But on June 14th, sadly, after a 3-hour meeting at the school, Mallory came home and committed suicide.
So sorry for your loss. There are obviously no words. There has always been bullying among kids, probably always will be. Do you think that bullying is becoming deadlier because of social media, either online or other online venues besides social media?
Yes, I think what's happened is our children have raised the bar on hate. We used to say, go jump in the lake. And I think that there was a degree of separation. You know, you'd have 5 or 6 kids or one mean kid pick on you at school. But then when you came home after school, you either went outside to play or you were able to escape what was going on. You had a safe environment at home. Now with social media, there is this gang-like behavior. At school, 5 or 6 kids hate you. But after school, how many ever followers they have hate you. You could have 500 or 600. I think that gang-like behavior causes the victim to feel like the whole world is against them. And I think because of that, raising the bar, you know, instead of saying go jump in the lake, we're telling kids to go kill themselves. And I just think that that's a dangerous territory. And yes, social media promotes anonymous behavior as well as makes money off of anonymous behavior.
You would think that there would also be a flip side to that, that not only does online interaction provide bulliers greater access to you or to do harm, but you would also think it might provide somebody with greater access to help. Has that not been the case to your experience?
I don't think so. I think that you're asking children to have adult decisions. Adults know to seek help, yet look at Kate Spade. Look at Anthony Bourdain. They didn't seek help. Not only did they have the financial resources to do so, they had the adult brain. Mental illness is exactly that. It's a mental illness. And oftentimes with children, I don't believe that they have the resources. Plus, it's frowned upon to do so. And I think there's a stigma around asking for help. You know, if we have cancer, the whole world rallies behind you and is holding fundraisers. But if you make a statement like I'm bipolar, then it must be something wrong with you. So I think that I don't believe that children will seek help, and I don't think that the resources are there for them.
You have tried to turn your loss into action. You've been pushing for something called Mallory's Law, which is under consideration in the state legislature in New Jersey. What would that law do? How much help would it provide?
I think it's a start. I think we have to first of all look at the entire HIB statute, because I think that it does a great job of defining what bullying is, but it doesn't give the Board of Education or the administration, it doesn't give them teeth to really handle the problem. But what Mallory's Law does is it creates some transparency. It involves the superintendent of the county to get involved. I think one of the biggest problems New Jersey has is that we really don't have a handle on what's going on, because schools are allowed to decide what they want and what they don't. And if you're not transparent about the problems, then you can't fix what you don't acknowledge. Also, making sure that parents and schools have a transparent but only documented way to communicate what's going on. A lot of times parents just want to call up the school and vent about what happened on Saturday night. they will say things like, well, I don't really want to file an HIB, but I want you to know what's going on. Well, that within itself is a problem. That puts the schools in a position of, if we acknowledge it, we're viable, and if we are vulnerable, if we don't do anything. So I think children need to learn to predict the consequences of their behavior. And I think that Mallory's Law could help start do some of that.
Is it fair, Dianne, to ask a school or a school district to police the behavior of kids, particularly when they're not in school, when they're interacting online?
Well, that's what HIB says that they're supposed to. I have a mixed feeling about that. I think on a Saturday in July, because girls decide to gang up on someone, do I think that the school should be held responsible? Probably not. But are we really going to be a society that's ready to bring back juvenile detention centers? Are we going to start going down that road? Remember, they're juveniles. So I think, are we really ready to turn over this behavior to the police departments? I think it's a big question that needs to be answered. I think accountability has to be on all parts. I think parents have to be accountable. They're the ones that buy the $1,000 cell phones. I think schools have to be responsible. Most of the relationships happen at school. That's when these children are introduced. Mallory would have never known these girls had it not been for the school system introducing them by based of, that's where they go to school. So yes, there is some responsibility on that part, but I also think that we have to be prepared to have children get in trouble.
Finally, your story may have some parents who are watching tonight worried about their own children, especially what they don't know about their own kids. What advice would you give to those parents? What steps can they take tonight to better protect and look after their kids?
Well, the first thing I would ask them to do is attend one of the Mallory's Army parenting seminars that we offer. Come out. Oftentimes, these programs are open to the community. So, go on Mallory's Army Facebook page. We share a lot of important information. The second thing I would say is no passwords. You need to know, and no privacy. Your child is not entitled to privacy when it comes to their phone. And then, of course, I would ask your child, if you've got a child that you think is vulnerable, I think you should ask them, have you ever considered hurting yourself? And if they say yes, then you say, good, because we can fix that. If your child has a cold, you take them to the doctor. So if your child is considered hurting themselves, you need to know that information, and you need to seek a pediatrician and to get them the help that they need.
Dianne Grossman is a teen suicide prevention advocate and became one for the worst of all possible reasons. She's also the founder of Mallory's Army, which is focused on cyberbullying. Dianne, thank you for a few minutes. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll be right back.